Liam stood at the edge of the city park, the cold November wind tugging at the collar of his coat. The streetlights flickered as dusk settled over the streets, casting long, thin shadows across the empty sidewalks. He pulled his hands deeper into his pockets, trying to ignore the gnawing emptiness in his chest. It had been months since Emma had left. Months since the laughter, the late-night conversations, the simple comfort of someone who understood him without words. And yet, no matter how much time had passed, the apartment still felt too quiet, too hollow. Even the walls seemed to sigh with her absence. Liam's eyes lingered on the playground ahead, deserted at this hour. He remembered the day he and Emma had first met there. She had been laughing, chasing her younger cousin through the swings and slides. And something about the way she moved, the effortless joy, had stopped him in his tracks. From that moment, he'd known she would change everything, though he hadn't imagined it would hurt this much to let her go. He exhaled slowly, watching his breath curl in the cool air. Maybe it's better this way, he muttered to himself, though the words felt hollow. Better for whom? Not him, certainly. He missed her with a weight that no distraction or busy schedule could lift. Every song on the radio, every corner of the city, reminded him of her. Sometimes he thought he could even hear her voice, faint as a whisper, echoing in the empty apartment. I need to find myself, Liam. The truth was, Liam had understood why she left. Emma was full of dreams that couldn't be contained by any one city or any one person. She had wanted to explore, to chase opportunities that took her far from the life they had built together. And he had loved her enough to let her go. But love wasn't supposed to feel like this, like walking through a fog that never lifts. Like every smile from a stranger reminding him of what was missing. He walked slowly along the path. The crunch of fallen leaves under his boots, the only sound besides the distant hum of traffic. He glanced at the cafes and shops lining the street, half expecting to see her, half fearing he might. It was a strange mix of hope and dread that he couldn't shake, in the weeks after she left. Liam had tried everything to fill the void. He buried himself in work, took long walks through the city, even tried picking up new hobbies. But nothing erased the ache. And now, standing in the park that had seen both the happiest and saddest days of his life, he realized that perhaps he hadn't been trying to move on at all. Perhaps he had been waiting for something, someone he didn't even know if he would get back. He paused by a bench, the one with the faded green paint that chipped under years of weather. Emma had always loved this bench. They had spent hours there talking about dreams, fears, and little everyday things that suddenly felt monumental because they were shared with someone who truly cared. Liam sat down, letting the cold seep through his coat, and closed his eyes. In the quiet, memories came unbidden. The night they had walked under a sky full of stars, holding hands and dreaming aloud. The morning spent sipping coffee, fingers brushing accidentally, yet meaning everything. The arguments, small, silly disagreements that seemed huge at the time, now almost laughable in hindsight. And then, of course, the goodbye. It hadn't been dramatic or angry. Emma hadn't slammed doors or shouted in fury. She had just stood there, fragile and determined, and said the words that would echo in Liam's heart for months. I need to find myself. He opened his eyes and looked around. The park now empty except for the rustle of leaves in the wind. A single street lamp casts a soft glow over the path, and for a moment, Liam allowed himself to imagine what it would be like if she were still here. If she were walking toward him, smiling that same smile that had captured his heart all those months ago, but he knew it was just a dream. One of many he had clung to in the lonely nights since she left. And yet, as he sat there, a small part of him refused to let go of hope. Maybe life had more in store than he could see. Maybe somehow fate had a plan that neither of them understood yet, for now. Liam stood slowly, brushing the leaves from his coat, and began the walk back to his apartment. He didn't know when or if Emma would return. He didn't know if the ache in his chest would ever truly fade. But he did know one thing. No matter how lost he felt, no matter how empty the apartment seemed, he could not forget her. And perhaps that was the beginning. A quiet determination settled over him. Gentle but insistent. Life had taken her away for now, but that didn't mean their story was over. Somewhere, just beyond the horizon, the next chapter waited. And Liam, with all his longing and hope, was ready to find it part two. The past and connection. Liam's apartment was quiet. It's the kind of quiet that made every creak of the floorboards feel louder than it should. He sat by the window, staring out at the city lights, letting the memories wash over him like waves he couldn't resist. Memories of Emma, they weren't just moments. They were fragments of a life that had felt complete and impossible to replace. He remembered the first time they had really talked. Not just small talk or passing hellos, a conversation that made him feel like someone had finally understood the rhythm of his heart. It had been at that tiny coffee shop on Elm Street, the one with the chipped counter and the faint smell of cinnamon. Emma had spilled her coffee on the table, and rather than getting embarrassed or flustered, she laughed full, clear, and without reservation. Liam had laughed too, and in that instant, he had felt the beginnings of something that felt like more than friendship. Something he couldn't yet name. Over the weeks, their bond had grown in quiet, almost ordinary ways. They shared inside jokes over late-night texts, walked through the city streets without caring where they were going, and discovered comfort in each other's presence. Even on rainy days, they found adventure dashing through puddles, laughing until their sides ached, stopping under awnings to catch their breath and watch the rain blur the lights of the city into something magical. There were also moments of silence, soft and comfortable, when words weren't necessary. Liam remembered lying on the grass in the park one summer evening, watching the stars blink awake, feeling Emma's shoulder against his own. He hadn't needed to speak because the world seemed to pause for them, and in that pause, their hearts spoke more than words ever could. But as much as he cherished those memories, there were also moments that had quietly sown distance between them. Life had a way of intruding, even on the most perfect connections. Emma had dreams that stretched far beyond the city streets they shared, dreams that made her restless even when she was smiling beside him. Liam had responsibilities that anchored him, family work, obligations that could not simply be left behind. And yet it wasn't just logistics that had pulled them apart. It had been fear, Tootha, fear of holding on so tightly that one would break the other, or of staying together and watching dreams slowly fade. They both loved each other deeply, but love alone had not been enough to bridge the distance that life had drawn between them. Liam let out a soft sigh, thinking of the quiet nights when he had tried to call her, only to stop himself midway, wondering if reaching out would be selfish. Emma had always encouraged him to grow, to pursue what made him happy, and he had tried to honor that even if it meant letting go. He remembered a late afternoon when they had sat on the park bench near the fountain, leaves swirling around their feet, sharing hopes and worries. Emma had held a small notebook in her hands, flipping through pages of sketches and ideas. "I feel like there's so much waiting for me," she had said quietly, "and I can't ignore it, Liam. Not anymore." Liam had nodded, pretending to understand fully, though his heart had ached. "Then go," he had said softly. "I'll be here, cheering for you always." They had hugged, a lingering embrace that spoke more than words. In that moment, Liam had felt the bittersweet ache of love's complexity, a deep, abiding affection intertwined with the pain of inevitability. Even now, months later, Liam could feel the echoes of her presence in the apartment, the scent of the vanilla candles she had loved, the mug she had always left on the counter, the faint shadow of her laughter lingering in the hallway. Every corner reminded him of the bond they had built, a connection so genuine that even time and distance hadn't erased it. He found himself reaching for his phone, hesitating over her contact name, imagining what it would feel like to hear her voice again. But the courage never came. Instead, he let the memories fill the room, letting them remind him why he had fallen so completely in love with her. There had been arguments. Yes, small misunderstandings that escalated because they cared so deeply. But those moments, Liam realized, had only made the bond stronger. They had learned each other's vulnerabilities, quirks, and silent fears. They had discovered the way love wasn't always about grand gestures, but about showing up even in quiet, ordinary ways. And yet, as much as he treasured the past, Liam could feel the weight of absence pressing down on him. He had loved her fully, and he had lost her fully too. The city felt larger without her, the nights colder, and the simple routines of life dimmer without the light of her presence. Still, there was a flicker of hope, subtle but persistent, that maybe this was not the end of their story. Liam believed that some connections were too strong to be broken by distance or circumstance, that perhaps the universe had a way of returning the people who ma. The following week arrived with unexpected warmth. The sun hung low in the sky, painting the town in shades of gold. Yet the memory of the storm still lingered in the streets. Puddles reflected the sky like tiny mirrors, and the air carried a freshness that only rain could leave behind. Emma walked slowly down the familiar sidewalk, letting her thoughts drift to the man across the street, whose presence had stirred something within her. She wasn't sure what to call it, yet hope, curiosity, or a quiet spark of connection. But it was enough to make her heart lift slightly each time she thought of him. Liam had been in his studio the last few days, busy with commissions and his own work, and they hadn't spoken since that afternoon under the tarp. Yet Emma felt certain that the encounter was not the end. It was the beginning of something that had been quietly waiting for the right moment to emerge. As she passed the corner where the oak tree swayed in the gentle breeze, she spotted something that made her pause. A small paper flyer caught between the branches of the low-hanging branches fluttered like a delicate butterfly. Curious, she bent down and picked it up. It was an announcement for a small summer art exhibit, featuring local artists, and there, almost at the bottom, was Liam's name. Emma's chest tightened. Of course it would be him. Somehow fate had orchestrated another meeting, another chance. She tucked the flyer into her pocket, a quiet thrill rushing through her. Later that evening, as the sun dipped behind the rooftops and the streets glimmered with the golden reflection of the fading light, Emma found herself walking past Liam's studio once again. And there he was, adjusting the canvas of a new painting, completely absorbed in his work. For a moment she hesitated, unsure whether to call out, to interrupt, or simply walk by as if nothing had changed. But then their eyes met. Liam paused, a small smile tugging at the corner of his lips. It was not a smile of pretense or casual politeness, was a recognition, a quiet acknowledgement that the connection between them had not been forgotten. Emma, he said softly, setting down his brush. The sound of her name in his voice made her pulse quicken, not with panic, but with something warmer, gentler, something like belonging. "Hi, Liam," she replied, a smile finding her despite her own nervousness. "I saw your name on the exhibit flyer." "That's exciting." He nodded, brushing his hands against his jeans as though to shake off the tension. "Yeah, it's a small exhibit, but I'm hoping it'll be meaningful." His eyes lingered on hers for a moment longer than necessary, and she felt the same quiet thrill she had felt under the tarp during the storm. They stepped outside together, walking along the sidewalk as the evening air cooled. Neither spoke for a few moments, but the silence wasn't awkward. It was charged full of all the words that had gone unsaid in the past days and the weeks before. "I've been thinking about that day," Emma said finally, her voice soft, almost hesitant. "The storm. I don't think I've ever felt anything like it before. It was strange, but in a good way." Liam smiled, his eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "Me too. It was like the rain washed everything away, my worries, my doubts, even my fear of being wrong about people. For some reason, I felt like I could be myself around you, and that's not something I feel often." Emma felt a flutter in her chest. A quiet joy mingled with the old hesitations she still carried. "I felt that too. It's rare, isn't it? To meet someone and feel like maybe they understand parts of you you didn't even know were waiting." "Rare," Liam agreed. "But maybe rare is exactly what makes it worth noticing." They walked past the quiet streets, their conversation weaving seamlessly between art, memories, and small discoveries about each other. A fallen branch from the storm lay across the path, and Liam knelt to move it aside. "I guess the storm still wants to remind us it was here," he said lightly, and Emma laughed. The sound felt like sunlight breaking through clouds she hadn't realized were still lingering. As the evening deepened, a small coincidence brought them even closer. A neighbor's cat, wet from the remnants of the storm, darted across the street and froze in front of Emma and Liam. It mewed softly, looking at them with pleading eyes. Without thinking, Emma knelt to pick up the trembling creature, and Liam reached out instinctively, steadying her as she cradled it. The shared action, simple and unremarkable to an outsider, felt monumental to them. Their hands brushed lightly, fingers lingering just a fraction longer than necessary. And in that fleeting contact, the unspoken bond between them deepened. There was no rush, no pressure, just the warmth of shared humanity, of concern, and of mutual understanding. "You have a way of finding the little miracles in ordinary days," Liam said softly, eyes fixed on hers. Emma's smile widened, warmth spreading through her chest. "Maybe they're not miracles. Maybe we just don't notice them enough until someone else reminds us to see." They continued walking, side by side, the streets now quiet, the air heavy with the promise of summer evenings yet to come. Each step felt like a soft echo of the storm that had started it, all a gentle reminder that the past could meet the present in unexpected ways, and that sometimes fate, chance, or the smallest event could reignite feelings long held at bay. By the time they parted that evening, Emma felt lighter than she had in years. Liam's parting glance was not hurried, not casual. It carried the same quiet promise she felt in her own heart, that this was only the beginning, that the threads connecting them were being woven deliberately, yet invisibly, by something neither of them fully understood. As she walked home under the soft glow of streetlights, she realized that the storm had not just been weather, it had been a signal, a turning point. And now, in the present, that signal was echoing once more, bringing them closer to something neither time nor fear could erase. The days that followed the storm passed in a quiet, almost surreal rhythm. Emma and Liam found themselves thinking of each other more than either expected, not with urgency or obsession, but with the soft pull of curiosity and recognition, an invisible thread tugging at their hearts. Yet neither spoke aloud the thoughts that lingered just beneath the surface. Emma sat on her favorite bench in the small-town park, the sun warming her shoulders, yet she felt a slight chill in her chest. She had replayed their walks, their small shared moments, countless times in her mind. Every glance Liam had given her, every soft smile, every pause before a word was spoken, she held them all with a tender reverence. And yet a question lingered unspoken. What does he feel? She thought of the past, the quiet heartbreaks that had made her cautious, the moments when trust had been fragile and easily broken. Part of her wanted to speak, to admit the subtle stirrings in her heart, but another part recoiled. Vulnerability was terrifying, and yet that fear made the quiet moments she had spent with Liam even more precious. Each laugh, each shared observation, a treasure she could cling to safely. Without risking disappointment, across town, Liam was in his studio, staring at a nearly finished painting of a stormy summer sky. It was not unlike the one that had brought them together, yet somehow different, softer, more reflective. He had tried to capture the feeling he could not yet name, the tension of longing, hesitation of hearts not yet brave enough to speak. His brush moved slowly, deliberately, as if each stroke could reveal a truth he couldn't voice aloud. He thought of Emma constantly, not in a way that was pressing or demanding, but in quiet, thoughtful moments, when he poured coffee in the morning, when he adjusted his canvas, when the wind rustled the papers in his studio. Her laughter, her soft observations about the world, the way she seemed to notice small, beautiful things others overlooked, they stayed with him. And yet a hesitation lingered, born of old fears, past disappointments, and the unspoken question, what if I misread her? What if it's only me feeling this way? One evening, fate brought them together again, as ordinary days often do for those connected by an invisible thread. Liam was walking along the narrow boardwalk that ran along the edge of the river, carrying his sketchbook. Emma appeared from the opposite direction, her coat slightly damp from a passing summer drizzle. They smiled a small, knowing smiland for a moment. Neither moved forward. The pause was filled with all that remained unspoken. Words hovered at the edges, a delicate tension of hope and uncertainty. Finally, Emma spoke, her voice soft, tentative, yet carrying a subtle warmth. "I keep thinking about the storm," she said, looking at the rippling water. "About how unexpected things can happen. How someone can enter your life and shift everything without warning." Liam's eyes met hers, and he nodded slowly. "I know exactly what you mean. I keep replaying that day, wondering if it was just coincidence or something more. Something we're meant to notice." Emma's fingers tightened around her coat lapel, a gesture almost unnoticed but full of meaning. I think it was more than coincidence," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I feel like that day wasn't just about the storm. It was about meeting someone I was meant to see differently." Liam's chest tightened. He wanted to say everything he felt, to confess the quiet swell of hope and longing that had grown since that day. But words failed him. He knew that speaking too soon, too forcefully, could shatter the fragile connection they had carefully built over days and shared moments. Instead, he nodded, letting his expression convey what his words could. The city streets were quiet that evening, bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. Liam walked beside Emma, their footsteps soft against the cobblestone path that led toward the river. The air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of fallen leaves and distant coffee shops. For a while, they walked in silence, letting the comfort of each other's presence speak for what neither had said aloud. But even in the calm, a tension lingered, an invisible weight pressing between them. The months apart had left questions unanswered, and both knew that if they were to move forward, something had to change. Emma stopped near the railing of the river, gazing at the water flowing beneath a bridge. The reflection of the orange and pink sky danced across the surface, and she inhaled deeply, as if drawing courage from the evening itself. Liam waited beside her, his hands loosely in his pockets, sensing the storm beneath her calm exterior. She began, her voice hesitant. She paused, searching for the words. "There's something I've been holding back." Liam's chest tightened. He had felt this moment coming, the point where waiting and longing would no longer be enough. "Whatever it is," he said gently, "you can tell me. I'm listening." Emma turned to him, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "When I left," she admitted, "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought leaving was the only way to follow my dreams and still be true to myself. But I didn't realize how much I'd be leaving behind. I didn't realize how much I'd miss you." Liam reached out, placing a reassuring hand over hers. "Emma," he said softly, "I never stopped thinking about you either. I missed you every single day. I didn't know if you felt the same." She shook her head slowly, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I do. I always have. I was scared. Scared that I'd fail, scared that we'd fail, and I didn't want to hurt either of us." Liam squeezed her hand, a warmth spreading through him. "You didn't hurt me. The truth is, I've been waiting for you even when I thought waiting was pointless. I've always believed that some things, some people are worth holding on to." Emma let out a soft laugh, bitter and sweet at the same time. "I thought I was strong enough to walk away. I thought I could chase my dreams without looking back. But the truth is, I wasn't strong enough to forget you." The river reflected their faces, illuminated by the soft glow of streetlights. In that quiet moment, the barriers they had built around their hearts began to crumble. All the hesitation, all the fear was melting into something far more powerful: connection, understanding, and love. Liam took a deep breath, the words he had held in his heart for months finally finding their place. "Emma, I don't want to go through another day pretending I'm okay without you. I love you. I've always loved you, even when life forced us apart. I want to be part of your dreams, your life, if you'll let me." Her eyes widened, a mixture of surprise and hope dancing in them. The vulnerability in his voice, the honesty in his words, broke through every fear she had been carrying. For months, she had been chasing courage and independence. But now she realized that love didn't diminish her strength, it complemented it. I love you too, Liam, she whispered, her hand tightening over his. More than I thought possible, and I don't want to let fear keep us apart again. A quiet hush settled around them, the sound of the river flowing beneath the bridge the only witness to this confession. Liam pulled her into a gentle embrace, careful, tender, letting the moment stretch without rushing it. They didn't need to speak, the truth had been said. And that alone was enough. The turning point wasn't dramatic in the way movies often make it appear. There were no grand gestures, no public declarations. It was simple, quiet, and intensely personal. It was in the words they had longed to say, the emotions they had carried silently, and the mutual understanding that their bond was stronger than distance, time, or fear. Emma rested her head on Liam's shoulder, letting herself feel the comfort of someone who had known her heart for years. I thought I had lost you forever, she said softly. You never lost me, Liam replied. We just needed the right time. And maybe a little push from fate to remind us what matters. They stood there for a long while, watching the river, feeling the evening settle around them. It wasn't the end of their story, it was a turning point, the moment where the path forward became clear. For the first time in months, they both felt light, as though a weight they hadn't fully recognized had been lifted. Liam and Emma knew there would still be challenges. Life always had a way of testing even the strongest connections. But in this moment, neither of them doubted the bond they shared. It was real, enduring, and deeply rooted in mutual love, respect, and understanding. As they walked back along the cobblestone path, side by side, the city seemed to hum around them, quieter and gentler than before. There was no rush, no frantic need to fix the past or predict the future. They had spoken their truths, and that honesty was the bridge they needed to move forward together. Sometimes, Liam thought, the hardest part of love is waiting for courage to catch up with the heart. And now, finally, theirs had. The first snow of the season had begun to fall, soft and silent, blanketing the city in white. Liam and Emma walked together through the park, their breaths visible in the chilly air, mingling with the quiet hush of snow settling on benches and lampposts. The world felt softer, slower, almost as if it were holding its breath for them. They had spent weeks reconnecting, slowly but intentionally. Every conversation, every walk, every shared cup of coffee had been a brick, laid carefully to rebuild what had been fragile but never broken. The months apart had taught them patience, understanding, and the quiet strength of commitment. Now, walking side by side, they felt the steady rhythm of two hearts moving forward together. Emma paused to watch a flock of birds take flight from the bare branches of a tree. It's beautiful, she whispered. Liam smiled, glancing at her profile, the soft glow of streetlights reflecting in her eyes. But not as beautiful as this moment, he said gently. She looked at him, a faint blush warming her cheeks, and for a heartbeat they simply stood there, letting the silence speak. It was a comfortable silence, one filled with trust and understanding rather than uncertainty. Months ago, even minutes of quiet together had felt loaded with tension. Now it was a shared serenity, a recognition that they had found their way back. They continued walking, the snow crunching under their feet, until they reached the little bridge where they had shared one of their first meaningful conversations. Liam stopped, taking Emma's hands in his. I want you to know, he said softly, that I don't take any of this for granted. Every step, every word, every day we have together, I'm grateful for it all. You've always been the person I want to walk beside through everything. Emma's eyes glistened, tears threatening to spill, but her smile was unwavering. I feel the same way, Liam. I spent too long trying to navigate life without you, thinking I could manage on my own. But life is better when we face it together. For a long moment, they held each other's gaze, letting the weight of unspoken months dissolve into warmth and certainty. Liam felt a calm resolve settle over him, a sense that the journey they had taken through longing, separation, and quiet reflection had brought them to exactly the place they were meant to be. "I think," Liam said with a small laugh, "that the universe really did take its time giving us this second chance." Emma chuckled softly, squeezing his hands. "Maybe it just wanted to make sure we appreciated it when it came." They laughed together, a light, unrestrained sound that felt as though it could melt the coldest winter air. And in that laughter was a shared understanding. Life had tested them, but their connection had endured. The bond between them was not fragile. It was resilient, strengthened by patience, honesty, and enduring love. As the sky darkened and the first street lamps glimmered through the falling snow, Liam and Emma found a bench to sit on. They watched the city transform beneath the soft white blanket, the world quieter, gentler, somehow more hopeful. It was a scene that mirrored the peace in their hearts, the understanding that love could survive distance, fear, and time. Emma leaned her head on Liam's shoulder, letting herself relax fully in a way she hadn't in months. "Do you think we'll ever take it for granted again?" she asked softly. Liam shook his head, smiling. "No, I think we've learned that some things, some people, are too important to ever take for granted. We'll remind each other every day in small ways that this us is worth it." The snow fell steadily now, covering the city in white quiet. Around them, the world carried on, unaware of the small miracle unfolding on that park bench. And yet, Liam and Emma didn't need anyone else to witness it. They had each other, and that was enough. They stayed there for a while, hands intertwined, hearts quietly synchronized, savoring the moment. No grand proclamations were necessary. No elaborate gestures were required. The beauty lay in the ordinary, the gentle trust, the mutual respect, and the quiet knowledge that they had found their way back to one another. Finally, Liam stood, offering Emma his hand. She took it with a smile, and together they walked along the snowy path, leaving footprints side by side. Every step felt lighter than the last, filled with hope, gratitude, and the promise of shared tomorrows. Emma looked up at him, a soft glow in her eyes. "I'm glad we didn't give up," she said. "Me too," Liam replied.